You've seen the videos. Move to Italy, get 30,000 euros, live your dream life. Switzerland will pay you $50,000 just to show up. And every time one of those videos drops, the comments go absolutely insane. Thousands of people saying, "I'm packing my bags, this is my sign, see you in Europe." I get it. But here's the thing, I actually checked. I called embassies. I read the 2026 tax codes. I talked to immigration lawyers. And what I found is going to save some of you from a very expensive mistake, and for others, it's going to point you towards something genuinely life-changing. So today we're going through all 7 of the most famous pay-you-to-move programs, and I'm going to tell you the flat truth about every single one. Some are straight-up traps, some are real but only work for a very specific person. And 2 of them I'd seriously consider myself. Let's go, starting at the bottom and working our way up. Number 7, Switzerland, Albinen Village. Switzerland. The name alone probably just made half of you sit up straighter, and I understand why, because the headline sounds unreal. The tiny village of Albinen has been offering $25,000 per adult to anyone willing to move there. For each child, another $10,000 on top. This story has gone viral so many times since 2017 that some outlets have literally republished it as new news 4 or 5 separate times. And every time it pops up, a whole new wave of people get excited. And a whole new wave of people get disappointed when they actually read the requirements. I've seen this cycle repeat so many times that I started keeping a folder of screenshots just to track how far the story spreads before someone actually fact checks it. So here's what those viral posts left out every single time. First, you must be under 45 years old. Not 46, not 45 and a half, under 45. Full stop. That already cuts out a massive portion of people watching videos like this, people who are actively thinking about retirement and where they want to spend the next chapter of their life. Second, you don't just move there and collect your check. You have to buy a property in the village, and we are talking Switzerland. So that minimum investment is around $220,000 in a remote mountain village with fewer than 250 permanent residents. Third, you must stay for at least 10 years. Leave before that, you pay back the grant with interest. No exceptions, no negotiations, no grace period. And if you think 10 years sounds manageable, imagine committing to a village of 250 people in the Swiss Alps, far from family, far from familiar comforts, with no guarantee the community will ever truly feel like home. And on top of all of that, Switzerland is already one of the most expensive countries in the world. Healthcare premiums alone can run $500 a month just for coverage. A regular grocery run for 2 people, easy $100. Dining out, transportation, everyday life, all of it costs significantly more than what most people budget for when they imagine moving abroad. So when you put it all together, you spend $220,000 on a home, commit a decade of your life, have to be under 45, and you get $25,000 as a thank you in one of the most expensive countries on earth. Who is this actually for? Honestly, young Swiss families who left for the city and might consider coming back to the mountains. That's the demographic this was built around. Not international retirees, not remote workers looking for a deal. Verdict: don't be fooled by the headlines. This one looks shiny from a distance and falls apart the moment you read the fine print. So, out of the 7 countries, there are 2 countries about which there are many misconceptions. I've told you about one of them, so now let's talk about the other one. Number 6, Spain. Okay, Spain. And this one honestly frustrates me a little because of how consistently it gets misrepresented. The way it gets reported. Move to Spain and get 3,000 euros. Simple, right? And technically, there is truth buried in there. Small municipalities in rural Spain, places like Ponga in Asturias or Rubia in Galicia, have at various points offered small cash incentives to attract new residents. It sounds like the perfect solution for anyone who's been dreaming of a slower, sunnier life in the Spanish countryside. And every time this story circulates, the comment sections fill up with people tagging their friends and saying, "Babe, we need to talk." But here's everything those viral videos skip right past. 1. Many of these offers have already expired by the time they make it into a YouTube video. These are hyper-local programs run by tiny local governments with no big PR budgets. The internet finds out, they go viral, and by the time you're watching the 3rd repost of the same article, the window is usually already closed. 2. The ones that are still active are almost exclusively designed for young families with children, not retirees, not digital nomads. Why? Because these villages are watching their schools close. They need children in classrooms. That's the specific problem they're trying to solve, and the grant criteria reflect that very directly. And 3, even if you qualify, even if the program is still running, even if you get selected, you're getting 3,000 euros. 3,000 euros. I want you to feel the weight of that number. 3,000 euros in even a modest rural Spanish town covers maybe 2 months of basic living expenses. 2 months. And then you're on your own, in a place where you may not speak the language, with no support system and no job lined up, because these are towns that locals already left for a reason. There are no booming local economies waiting for you on the other side of that 3,000 euros. There's just a quiet village, a dwindling population, and a reality that looks very different from the thumbnail. This isn't a strategy, this is a publicity stunt by a struggling municipality. I say that with genuine respect for what these towns are trying to do when they're fighting to survive. But treating 3,000 euros as a reason to uproot your entire life, that's not a plan. Verdict, not a strategy, not even close. Move on. Now those first 2, Switzerland and Spain, I'd warn you away from completely, but the next 3 are a different story. These programs are real. The money exists, applications are open, but each one comes with a catch that changes everything depending on who you are. Stay with me, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. Number 5, Ireland. And I want to say up front, this one is genuinely exciting. The Our Living Islands initiative is a government-backed program that can offer up to 84,000 euros, that's over 90,000 US dollars, to people willing to take on a vacant or derelict property on one of Ireland's inhabited offshore islands and renovate it. $84,000 for a property in one of the most dramatically beautiful places on Earth. We're talking islands off the west coast of Ireland, wild Atlantic coastlines, ancient stone walls, a pace of life so different from modern city living that it genuinely feels like stepping into another world. The kind of place where you wake up to the sound of waves, where the community knows every face, where life strips itself back to what actually matters. When I first read about this, I'll admit, I felt the pull of it deeply. But here's the first thing you need to understand, because this distinction is everything. It is not a check. This is a reimbursement grant. You buy the property first, out of your own pocket. You hire the contractors first. You manage the construction first. And then after you submit every receipt, every document, every inspection report, you get reimbursed partially. So the real cash requirement to start, realistically, 150,000 euros to 300,000 euros in liquid funds, depending on how derelict the property is. These aren't move-in ready homes. They're ruins. Beautiful ruins in stunning locations, but ruins. The second thing, and I cannot stress this enough, the grant does not give you the right to live in Ireland. You still need an independent visa. For most people, that means qualifying for a Stamp 0, which requires at least 50,000 euros per year in documented passive income. Pension, social security, investment returns, all verified. The grant and the visa are 2 completely separate processes with completely separate requirements. Confusing the 2 is one of the most common mistakes people make when they research this program. So, who is this actually for? You need $200,000 plus sitting liquid. You need $50,000 plus an annual passive income. You need to enjoy managing a construction project. You're okay living on a remote Atlantic island. And you have 18 to 24 months of patience for the reimbursement process to play out. That is a very specific person. It might be you. If it is, this is a remarkable opportunity, and Irish island life has a magic that words don't fully capture. But for most people watching this video, the financial bar is simply too high. Verdict: real, generous, and genuinely beautiful, but only accessible if you already have serious capital to deploy. Number 4, Italy. I already know what you're feeling right now. And honestly, part of me feels it too. The Italian village grant programs, most famously from towns like Presice, Aquarica, and Puglia, and various municipalities across Calabria, have been offering up to 30,000 euros to people willing to buy a home and establish legal residency there. 30,000 euros? In Italy, where a plate of the best pasta you've ever tasted costs 5 euros, where the afternoons are slow and golden, and the neighbors bring you food just because that's what neighbors do. where life moves at a pace that actually feels human, where the Sunday market is still the social event of the week and nobody is checking their phone every 30 seconds. I understand why people fall in love with this idea, I understand it deeply, but let's talk about what the videos don't show you. First, the home you buy must have been built before 1991. That's a hard requirement in most of these programs. And do you know what Italian rural construction from the 1970s and 80s looks like structurally? Electrical systems untouched for decades, plumbing that may need full replacement, foundations that need complete assessment. The €30,000 grant helps, it genuinely does, but renovation costs on these properties can easily eat right through it and then some. Second, to receive the money you have to officially transfer your legal residency to Italy. Because Italy uses a territorial tax system, once you're a legal resident, you are subject to Italian tax law. Depending on your income sources, your pension, your social security, your investment accounts, this can have major implications. You need a tax attorney who specializes in US-Italy tax law before you make this move. Not after. Before. Non-negotiable. And third, these towns are offering money because people left. Young people left because there weren't enough jobs, because quality healthcare is genuinely difficult to access in remote parts of southern Italy, because infrastructure like reliable internet and maintained roads can be inconsistent. The same charm that draws you in is sometimes the very thing that signals a harder day-to-day reality than the videos show. Ask yourself honestly, if this town was thriving, would they need to pay people to move there? If you have a medical emergency at 2 in the morning and the nearest equipped hospital is 90 minutes away, that is not a minor detail. That is a life or death consideration. The food is world-class, the beauty is real, but retiring somewhere beautiful is only a good plan if the infrastructure supports your actual life needs. Verdict, a real opportunity for the right adventurous buyer, but go in with completely honest expectations about what you're signing up for. Number 3, USA, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. Now, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Most videos in this genre skip right past the domestic programs, and I think that's a mistake. So let's talk about what's happening right here in the US. Tulsa Remote offers $10,000 in cash, paid in installments over your first year, to remote workers who commit to living in Tulsa for at least 12 months. Co-working space, community events, a whole infrastructure to help you land and feel at home. West Virginia runs a similar program offering up to $12,000 plus a free annual National Parks Pass because West Virginia is genuinely stunning and they know it. And unlike most programs on this list, both of these are completely in English, completely familiar, and require zero visa paperwork. You're not navigating a foreign bureaucracy, you're just moving to a different American city with a financial head start. Both programs are completely legitimate, both are well managed, both have real communities of people who moved, planted roots, and stayed. For a young remote worker in their 20s or 30s building savings and wanting lower cost of living, these are genuinely great programs. But I need to do the math for my audience. And the math tells a harder story. $10,000 is real money, or I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But in the United States, a single major medical event, heart attack, a cancer diagnosis, a serious accident, can cost you $50,000 or more out of pocket even with insurance. One event, one bad day. And as you move into retirement on when you're statistically more likely to face those events, staying in the US means you are always one health crisis away from financial catastrophe. That's not pessimism, that's the actuarial math of American healthcare. The system wasn't designed to protect your retirement savings, it was designed to build them. And no $10,000 relocation bonus changes the fundamental structure of that system or shields you from its consequences. Compare that to a country with comprehensive national health care where the same heart attack costs a few $100s in administrative fees, and the $10,000 from Tulsa starts to look very different over a 20-year retirement horizon. Verdict, great program for the right person. But for retirees doing the long game math on healthcare, the numbers don't fully hold up. Alright, we've cleared the noise. You know which programs to skip and which to approach carefully. Now we get to the final two, the ones that I actually believe in. But before we hit number 1, there is one more country that deserves serious attention. And honestly, it might be the most underrated option on this entire list. Number 2, Greece. I want you to picture something for a moment. No commute, no traffic, no inbox screaming at you, no news cycle dragging you in 12 directions at once, just the Aegean Sea stretching out in front of you. Clean air, simple food, neighbors who actually know your name, and time, real, unhurried, completely unscheduled time that belongs entirely to you. That's Antikythera. Antikythera is a tiny Greek island, fewer than 50 permanent residents, sitting between Crete and the Peloponnese Sea in the southern Aegean. And the Greek government has been running a verified, documented grant program to attract new permanent residents to the island. We're talking approximately 500 euros per month for up to 3 years, on top of free housing provided by the municipality during your settlement period. And this isn't a rumor. This isn't a viral headline with no substance behind it. This is a real government-backed program with real applicants and real approved residents living there right now. Now, I want to be straight with you. 500 euros a month is not going to replace a full income. It's not designed to. It's support money. The government's way of saying we'll reduce the friction of your first few years while you find your footing, but the free housing is the bigger deal. For most retirees, housing is the single largest monthly expense. Eliminate that, and 500 euros a month in a place where the local taverna serves a fresh full meal for 8 euros, where you grow your own vegetables, where the pace of life naturally costs less. That actually becomes genuinely livable. There are two honest catches I have to mention. The first is isolation, and I don't mean the romantic version of isolation you picture when you're sitting in a traffic jam. I mean real day-to-day isolation. There are no shopping malls, there's no Amazon Prime next day delivery, there is no coffee shop to work from. The ferry schedule becomes your entire calendar. It decides when you shop, when you travel, when you can see a doctor off island. For serious medical emergencies, you're looking at a boat or helicopter evacuation. That reality needs to sit with you before you romanticize this too heavily. It is beautiful. It is also genuinely remote in ways that most people have never actually experienced. The second catch is selection. The program strongly favors applicants of Greek descent or Greek families. It was designed specifically to preserve Greek culture and heritage on the island, not to be a general international open call. That doesn't automatically disqualify others, but it does mean the competition is real, the approval process is selective, and getting through is far from guaranteed simply because you submitted an application. But here's why this earns a genuine spot near the top of this list. If you're a writer, a painter, a researcher, someone who has spent years dreaming about stripping life back to its essentials and actually living rather than performing living, this is one of the very few programs in the world that offers real, sustained financial support to do exactly that. Not a one-time check, monthly support plus free housing for 3 years. That is a real runway to build something completely different. Verdict: real, meaningful, and quietly remarkable for the right person. If simplicity and solitude genuinely call to you, this one might be worth a serious look. Number 1, Panama and Portugal. Here's the thing I've been building toward this entire video. The best countries don't hand you a $10,000 check. They give you a $100,000 tax break. Every single year, every program we've talked about so far thinks about money the same way. Here's a lump sum, here's a grant, here's cash to get you started. Panama and Portugal are playing a completely different game. They're not giving you a one-time check, they're restructuring the math of your entire financial life. Panama, the Pensionado program. Panama's Pensionado visa is, in my honest opinion, the single most underrated retirement program on earth right now. Here's what you get the moment you qualify. 25% off monthly utility bills every month for life, 50% off entertainment, 30% off public transportation, 15% off hospital bills, 10 to 20% off prescriptions, and a one-time duty-free import of a car and household goods when you establish residency. These aren't temporary perks. They're permanent structural benefits baked into your visa status for as long as you live there. Stack them together, and you're looking at a fundamentally different monthly budget than anything you'd have back home. And let me put real numbers to this. A retired couple on Social Security and a small pension, around $4,000 a month, moves to Panama City. A modern city with the world-class hospitals, the US dollar as official currency, English widely spoken, tropical climate year-round. Rent for a comfortable 2-bedroom in a safe neighborhood runs $1,200 to $1,600. Groceries, $300 to $500. Healthcare dramatically lower than the US even before your discounts kick in. Stack those pensionado discounts across utilities, healthcare, entertainment, and transportation, not just this month, but every month for 20 years. And we're talking well over $100,000 in cumulative savings. That's not a one-time check. That's compound financial advantage that reshapes your entire retirement. And because Panama uses the US dollar, you never lose a single cent to currency fluctuation. Your Social Security check arrives worth exactly what it says on the statement. And to qualify, you need just $1,000 per month from a guaranteed source, pension or Social Security, one of the lowest thresholds of any retirement visa program in the developed world. Almost any American on Social Security qualifies. Portugal, the D7 visa and tax advantage. Portugal's original NHR tax program ended in December 2023. So if you've seen videos talking about it without mentioning that, you were getting old news. Portugal replaced it with IFICI, most people just call it NHR 2.0, which still maintains significant tax benefits for qualifying residents. The core point stands: Portugal remains one of the most tax-favorable environments in Western Europe for foreign retirees. Beyond taxes, Portugal is consistently ranked one of the safest countries in the world. Healthcare is high quality at a fraction of US costs. Cost of living outside Lisbon is still well below Western European averages. The culture is warm and genuinely welcoming to foreigners in a way that not every European country manages to be. English is widely spoken. The food and weather, especially in the Algarve, are genuinely world-class. And there's something about the Portuguese pace of life, unhurried, community-centered, rooted in simple pleasures, that people who move there consistently say they didn't expect to love as much as they do. The D7 passive income visa requires just 760 euros per month in passive income, roughly $840 US. Accessible for almost anyone on Social Security. The two honest catches: Lisbon has gotten more expensive, so look beyond the tourist corridors for real value. And the bureaucracy is slow. Residency paperwork can take 12 to 18 months, so you need a good lawyer and patience. But once you're through it, Portugal delivers completely. Verdict: Panama and Portugal win, not because they hand you money, but because they let you keep so much more of what you already have. That difference over a 20-year retirement isn't $10,000, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So let's land this simply. Stop chasing the headline. Start chasing the math. Switzerland, Spain, Tulsa, traps or dead ends for most people. Ireland, Italy, Greece, real, but only for the right person in the right situation. Panama and Portugal, the only two on this list that actually change your financial life long term, not with a one-time check, but with a lower cost of living every single month for the rest of your retirement. That's the real pay you to move program. And it doesn't come with a flashy thumbnail. If you want the next step, I've put together a full video on the 10 safest islands where you can retire on Social Security alone. Real numbers, real visas, no hype. It's linked right here. Hit the like button if this saved you from a mistake. Drop a comment telling me which country you're actually considering. I'll see you in the next one.